What's up, Steve? It's your boy, the OGGM. It's 9 o'clock. It's the 14th day of June, 2021. It is time to regale you with the RPG news such as it is. Content warning before we go any further, because apparently I have to. I will probably be talking about something related to Critical Role and Wizards of the Coast in this vlog, because they are usually in the news, and I may say something a little less than flattering about Wizards of the Coast or Critical Role. So if that is something that might upset you, please stop running out. Also, I may mispronounce a name or a word, and again, if that's something that might upset you, please stop watching now. I'll give you 5 seconds. All right, so what's going on in the world of role-playing? Okay, so top story, of course, is related to our friends over at Wizards of the Coast. They announced, hey, we're doing this Witchlight Pixie Fairy thing. Hey, we're doing this Strixhaven thing based upon the Magic the Gathering set Strixhaven. I know a lot of people were like hoping that if they did another Magic the Gathering, they would do the Viking theme one, which is, I don't know its name. Somebody, I think it's Kaldesh, but I'm not sure. So they're sort of surprised that since they did Theros, which is Greek themed, they would go to Strixhaven. But if you haven't seen this, the Magic the Gathering Strixhaven box cards, it just screams Dungeons and Dragons. So it was pretty obvious to me when I first saw it was going to be the next one. But other people were like, the Great Viking one. But yeah, no. I mean, they'll probably still do the Viking one. I don't know how they decide which Magic set to convert to D&D, because they did Ravinica, which was not a new Magic set, and then they did Thoros, which was more recent, but still not a new Magic set. There were Magic sets closer to the time that they released Theros and Ravinica, so your guess is good as mine how Wizards of the Coast decides which Magic set they're going to convert to D&D. I know but a lot of them have been done PDF only online. So if there's a Magic set you like that you haven't seen a physical copy of, you might want to check the Wizards of the Coast stuff on DriveThru, because a lot of them have also been done online, either directly through Wizards of the Coast or through third parties following the same build that Wizards of the Coast used. So, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how they decide that. And somewhere in that announcing, they all said, oh, we're doing a third product. I know we said we were going to do 2, but yoink, we're doing a third. Now this might just be higgly-poggly, or it might be that they're referencing one of the expansions that they've already said are coming with Strixhaven and Feywild. So when this guy said, oh, there's a third product coming up, he might have been referring to the Strixhaven Feywild adventure packs. We don't know what's in those Strixhaven adventure packs yet, and the Feywild adventure pack yet. Good guess is probably going to be maps, themed dice, counters, maybe extra stuff that didn't fit in the actual book. I don't know. We don't know, but best guess maps and themed dice probably. Support me, Coke. There is a third one coming up somewhere between the gap between Feywild and Strixhaven. And best bet right now is something dragon related, maybe Dragonomicon or Time of Dragons or something where you get to play dragons, or maybe just a monster book of dragons. The basis of this is if you look at the Unearthed Arcana and look at stuff that they released and play tested, and then you look at stuff that they've made, you can see, oh, they play tested X, and that became Feywild. They play tested Y, that became Strixhaven. The other thing they've play tested in the last couple of months is dragon stuff on Unearthed Arcana. So the best bet, if you're going by the theory that if it's Unearthed Arcana, we'll see a product sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, something dragon related. But that is not guaranteed. any way, shape, or form, and it could just all be Wizards of the Coast messing with us. In other gaming news that doesn't involve Wizards of the Coast, because I'm sure there will be more, we have some Clockwork creations that have been made for 5e over at the EN Morris Gaming site. The Kickstarter for Awfully Cheerful Engine is still going, is rapidly approaching the $1 million mark, and we can have some sneak peeks of adventures available if you're interested in the Awfully Cheerful Engine over at the Kickstarter. The newest playtest for Level 5e is up, which has got newly updated and expanded combat rules for Level 5e. Level Up 5e is a alternate rule set built around 5e that a company is doing that's supposed to make 5e different. Almost every week they're posting up playtests and rules and stuff like that on the website. So really, again, why would I need to buy this, guys? You're making everything for free. A couple days ago, Critical announced an all-new 8-week-long campaign starting at June 24th titled Exandia Unlimited. I got a lot in trouble for talking about this one because I said it was play-tested, and apparently I mispronounced some names. Now, going back and looking at it again, and looking at the pictures, looking at what they say, I have a feeling this was pre-recorded a while back, and we're just now seeing it because some of the references they make in the article are to things that already happened, or whatever. So, and the fact that they said that they play tested it makes me think that they did a soft play, who knows, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year ago. And now that Mighty 9 is over, to fill the gap, they're showing this. It's 8 week long. The big sell is it's a new DM who isn't Mercer, and we'll get to see Mercer as a player. In other news, Jim Ward is auctioning off his copy of the original manuscript of the first edition Sourcebook Deities and Demigods. Now, it was up for 99 cents. It went up to $11,000. Jim Ward took it down when he discovered that what he put up was a photocopy and not the original, and it will be relisted with the new information regarding it. So, yeah. There's some new Warhammer Fantasy stuff up from the Warhammer Fantasy people called the Horde Rat, which is part 4 of the updated version of the Enemy Within. The Enemy Within being one of the oldest Warhammer Fantasy modules. We have some more information regarding Dave Walter's Afrofuturist RPG in the Motherlands. That Kickstarter is currently approaching the $1 million mark and offers some different looks at typical fantasy role-playing through the point of view of Afro-American, Afrofuturistic. What if the world had been reshaped by the, people from Africa as opposed to people from Europe? So, and this is what this individual imagines what a world would look like if history had been different. We have a contest from Wizards of the Coast where you can submit an adventure design. And they're from the submissions, there will be it's a 1,000-word submission contest. It just says 1,000-word. It doesn't say what it is, but it's probably an adventure. If you look at we've already discussed this, and we might go into it a little bit more, depending upon how much slack I want to give Wizards of the Coast. But if you read the fine print, and if you read the rules, it is really, really sketchy. But if you feel like you're somebody who wants to maybe have a product that might be produced by Wizards of the Coast sometime in the future, check out this contest. I will warn you before you do anything that if you do submit something to the Wizards of the Coast Best DM contest for 2021, anything you submit 100% becomes the property of Wizards of the Coast. They do not have to return it to you. They do not have to give you credit for it. They do not have to pay you for it. If they can use it at any point in time that they want, whether it be now or 10 years from now, and you won't receive a dime for it, and they don't have to give you credit for it, and they don't have to give it back. So before you consider submitting something, just remember that anything you submit, even if they don't use it, becomes theirs, and you can't use it anywhere else. So yeah. We already talked about Strixhaven, and we already talked about Witchlight. There is even a cosplay announcement featuring Planeswalker Eliwick Tumblestrum, introducing the new settings. If you're up on the want to see that for D&D. Another thing we announced was that Wizards of the Coast has taken direct control of the localization for Dungeons & Dragons lines. New editions of all the core rule books and Essentials kit are on the way to France, Germany, Italia, and Spain. The Wizards of the Coast will have complete control over all the product distribution in foreign language-speaking companies. They will not be using second-party or third-party printing companies anymore. Because that gives them more complete control over the product. All the money goes to them, and they have complete control over where it gets released, and they're not surprised if a copy of the Essential Rules appears in the German version of Target. I don't know if they have Target in Germany, but I'm sure they have some type of big box retail in Germany. And Wizards of the Coast is like, hey, wait, third party, we never said you could release that rule book in German Target. So this gives Wizards complete control over releasing it in foreign languages, releasing it to foreign countries, and controlling exactly where the product is released. This is obviously part of the whole restructuring that we have seen of Hasbro bringing everything more and more under one umbrella. We have some pictures up from the Dungeons & Dragons movie. It's currently being filmed in Northumberland, England. There's a few pictures that are set. Basically, they're using a castle in Northumberland, and they have sort of D&D'd it up. So we've got some D&D banners, and they've cleaned it up. There's also a picture floating around of Hugh Grant, and I've talked about this on other vlogs this week, wearing what may be the costume for his character, Forge Fletcher, I'm sorry. But if you look at the picture, and again, I've talked about it in another vlog, it could also just be some weird, everyday, bizarre clothes Mr. Grant has just chosen to wear, because it doesn't look very D&D medieval. If you look at the picture now, who knows what counts as current fashion in Dungeons & Dragons land anymore? Just because I think it's, medieval, Hollywood medieval armor, clothing that's relatively appropriate for the time period that D&D is supposed to be set in. We don't know what time period D&D is set in anymore, or what's going on in the Forgotten Realms. So what he's wearing could be the costume of Fletcher Forge, or it could just be something he decided to wear on his way to the Ren Fair or a different movie, or just because he's Hugh Grant and he can get away with that. Look at the picture and you can decide for yourself. Okay, do we have anything going on in the world that's not related to Dungeons & Dragons? Oh, no, of course not. Wizards of the Coast has announced an expansion to the Dungeons & Dragons adventure system board game, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This new expansion is compatible with any of the previous Adventure Systems games, including Castle Ravenloft, Wrath of Ashadalon, Ashardalon, Legend of Drisset, Temple of Elemental Evil, Tomb of Annihilation, and Waterdeep, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Board game set in Saltmarsh. These things are cool because they usually come with a couple figures, though they're kind of pricey, but they're worth it just for the figures and the maps, even if you don't play the game. All right, finally, some news that does not relate to Wizards of the Coast. Dear God, that was exhausting. We have an announcement from the mighty House of Marvel that they are making their own in-house role-playing game based upon the comic universe of the Marvel Universe. This game will begin playtesting later this year or the beginning of next year and see print in 2023. They're going to dedicate an entire year to playtesting it. We know that it is using the D616 universe, but we don't know anything about the D616 system. We do not know what the D616 system is, or even if it is in fact a system, or if it's just a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that the comic universe takes place on Earth 616. And that we don't have any idea what that actually means yet. The stats are might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, and logic, which spells out Marvel. Other than that, we don't know anything about it, other than it's a Marvel role-playing game, and if you know anything about me, you know I consider Favorite Marvel one of, if not the best superhero game ever made. So this could be an amazing game, or it could be an utter disaster. We don't know. But, the tongue-in-cheekness of using the system and calling it D616 and making the stats spell out Marvel already gives me a good vibe that it is going to be a very fun, Marvel-appropriate type game, similar to Phase Rip. Ninth Level Games has announced a license to produce Return to the Dark Tower role-playing game, inspired by the classic computer board game of the 1980s. This will be using the Maze system from Ninth Level Game, which is currently funding a hardcover release on Kickstarter. I've talked about Maze a little bit. I really like it. I haven't seen enough of it, but I really like the ideas in Maze. So if you're a fan of some classic computer role-playing game from the 1980s and want to see how it plays out as a role-playing game, check out the Return to Dark Tower role-playing game inspired by the Maze system and the computer board game from the 1980s. And other news, GAMA, the Game Manufacturers Association, of which I am a member, is restructuring the board of directors. I'm not on the board of directors, but I am a voting member of GAMA. The organization hopes that changes will encourage more non-publisher categories to join, particularly new companies entering the game businesses. What does that mean in English? I guess they feel that the current board of directors and the current GAMA has been very much focused on the big two, Wizards of the Coast and Paizo, and doesn't really give enough attention to maybe smaller creators, smaller publishers, people who are making things that are role-playing adjacent, like board games or product, but not necessarily role-playing games. And by restructuring the way GAMA is developed, it will bring it into the 21st century and be more appropriate for what we're seeing today, including digital product. So that's what I think it means. And finally, oh God, today's news was exhausting. I like to see that there's lots of news in the gaming world. I don't like to see that it's all Wizards of the Coast. I would love to see information from other gaming companies, because I assume there are other gaming companies who are doing shit besides Wizards of the Coast. All right, Humble Bumble for the week. If you are a fan of virtual tabletop, the Humble Bumble this week is a virtual tabletop maps Humble Bumble. This bundle has over 45 asset packs ready for use on any virtual tabletop with city overland maps. And it goes to relieve for the Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society charity. Few days left on the huge Free League bundle featuring Tales from the Loop, Things from the Flood, and Symborium. And this goes to feature any charity you want. And that one's going to be ending in a few days. The Free League one is worth it on its own. And blah, blah, blah. Is that it for today? We have an interview up on the D&D podcast with Travis Vengroff of what it was like playing Dungeons & Dragons for Dark Dice with Jeff Goldblum. So if you have access to podcasts, you're a fan of the Dark Dice people, and you want to know what playing D&D with the man himself, Jeff Goldblum, was like, check out this podcast with Travis Vengroff, Vengroff. I haven't listened to the Jeff Goldblum podcast yet. I may have to over the next weekend. I have a surgery coming up, and that could be my surgery recovering gift, just to listen to Jeff Goldblum playing D&D, because something about that just screams awesomeness. Okay, so if you have any guesses as to what Hugh Grant's character is based upon the picture of his costume, and if you've ever heard of the character he's playing, Fletcher Forge or from D&D, because I looked and I don't. Some people have guessed he's playing a barkeeper. Some people have guessed he's playing a card shark or a blackjack dealer. People have said he's a were-rat. I don't know. Please let me know if you have any guesses or know anything about the character that he's playing, because I looked and I couldn't find any references to the name. That's it for this week's news. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you have any issues with this content, I always accept creative, constructive criticism, as long as, it's not discriminatory. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 500 subs by August 4th. That is a lot of news. I'll talk to you later, Steve.